Good evening, everyone. System Chalk here with the 79th, I believe, episode of the Book of Hours first run on YouTube, playing as the artist. Now, I had meant to mention this on the Christmas episode, but I completely forgot. There's a comment, and I feel a little wary bringing this comment up because it does seem like the author may have deleted it. And, you know, if people delete stuff, that's going to be their own business, but I actually don't think it was a bad thing. So I won't mention the name, but there was a mention. So first of all, it said something nice and complimentary about me being a Cultist Simulator broadcaster, which is always very nice to hear, and I'm grateful to hear comments like that. And on that one, it was a respectful request if I could do the medium playthrough. And I believe I have only done the medium playthrough on when it first came out. Well, actually, I suppose in that case there would be two potential playthroughs that I've done. One would have been when it was released, and then, although maybe it came out alongside. I'm actually trying to remember if I did that on Steam or not. Anyways, whatever it would most likely have been something that I would have done live. And, you know, the medium is certainly a very interesting one to do. And I would actually argue that probably my knowledge of the setting in terms of the secret histories has gotten better. And so there would be some details about some of the specific elements of the palest painting. There's obviously a lot of lore that's tucked away inside there if you know what to look for. But I actually think that would be a rather interesting one to follow up on. So this raises the overall question in terms of what is the status of Cultist Simulator on this channel when Book of Hours is the new game. And let's be honest, there's going to be a new DLC for Book of Hours, and I will have every intention of playing the expansion content as well. I do own the Perpetual Edition, so not only is it costless for me to stream that, but it's a game I enjoy doing. But I don't want this to mean that, because Weather Factory has another game, that all of a sudden I've said my last on Cultist Simulator. I still think it's a wonderful game, and I also think that it's a game that can provide some more rewards once you've played some of Book of Hours. And even if there were things that you could have discovered in Cultist Simulator that are told in Book of Hours, sometimes you just need that extra perspective to be able to sort of see what's going on. So, as is always the case, I can never really make any firm promises, because certainly there are more videos I would like to do than I have time to record. And I think with a new job starting in the new year, I am probably going to have more demands on my time than I normally do, although I fully intend to continue producing videos at the pace that I have already. But I do find it helpful to just kind of know where people are at in terms of the things that they would like to see, and knowing that I think probably the two that people would like to see the most are More Exile and also the medium now. And I have no problem providing that. So again, like I said, no promises, but I do find this sort of stuff helpful. And the one thing that's just useful for me to know is that generally I will play Cultist Simulator in the sense that I have this nice unbroken set of saves now, where the legacy is sort of determined by what I was playing before. So if I had a particular ending, that you're going to get you're usually guaranteed at least one ending one legacy based on the ending that you got. Now there's a way of forcing it with the DLC. There's a button that you can press to sort of force the DLC, because I understand it's frustrating that if you buy something and then can't play it right away, you're kind of wondering, why did you spend the money? But yeah, so I'd put it to you this way, like, knowing that people want to see Legacy A over Legacy B is useful to me, just simply because in the end, whenever I start recording a Cultist Simulator run, I'm faced with three possibilities, because that's the way that the game presents itself. And sometimes just getting a comment like that allows me to make that choice to move the mouse just, that little bit further to the right so that I can pick that other legacy as opposed to the one that might have caught my eye at the time. So first of all, thank you for the comment. I hope that nothing in my temperament led you to believe that that would be an unwelcome comment or that you felt the need to delete it. And I do apologize if you preferred to remain anonymous and not have that brought up. But I maybe just for the benefit of people who have been thinking about kind of comments like that, maybe wondering, is it okay to ask for that sort of stuff? It's always fine to ask. It's really, it's when people demand that it becomes a bit of a problem. And the only thing is that, it's fine to ask, but in the end, I do have limits on terms of what I can do just from a time point of view. So inevitably, requests can sometimes mean disappointing people. It's not my intention to disappoint people, but I do my best with what I've got, and if there's a demand for medium, there's a demand for medium, and same goes for any of the other legacies or any of the other journals for Book of Hours. So sorry, that was 6 minutes without gameplay, but I feel that needed to be said. Let's continue on our journey. So we're going to be getting a Faust back with bed rest. We've already committed the elements of the soul to generating the memories that we need, which is of course exactly the time that Mrs. Kill is going to give me an impulse. Another gossip. I deserved a little quiet time. So really we're just waiting for the remaining memories for Okay, so night has fallen, dawn will come soon. Got 25 seconds. Yeah, so it is possible that we may actually have all of our elements of the soul in time for the level up. Do want to be quick on the pause button though. Now, one thing I can say for sure, with the Iron Spin Trio, we're not buying something from Oriflamme's. So I'm stuck with the books that I've got, but that's not a hardship in this case. Okay. A Light in the Inkwell. Musgrave, fourth of the DeWolf line, writes tentatively about the Covenant of Brankrug and the legacy of the sacred inks he calls Incasta Revelatonia. Words are of the first importance, so the Book of Suns teaches, but do not words require ink? And is the inkwell not then the womb of words? Musgrave identifies the Ichor Auroral as the mother of the Incastum Porphyrine. He adds that it would be blasphemous to describe the origins of the Ichor itself, although a scrawled marginal note suggests a later reader thought Musgrave was only hiding his ignorance behind a cloak of piety. So there's our revelation. And we have the Green Jasper tablet, supposedly copied from a tablet of green jasper, which serves as the covenant stone of the Monastery of the Fifth Cup, the token that gives that library shelter beneath the Watchman's Tree. Humankind hid itself from the glory's light in the roots before humankind hid itself from the glory's light in the roots of the Watchman's Tree. But for every chink we stuffed with cloth and hair, we opened another, and the light crept in, until we looked below into nowhere, and the eye of the mare in the tree winked red. The tablet expounds the dangers of inviting in the nowhere hour called the mare in the tree, and also of forbidding her entry, since she can never entirely be denied. Along the way, it reveals the secret of the sacrament malachite, in which the merry mare merrily spits, brewed with the roots from the pneuma pear in the presence of sufficient nectar aspect. So there's the impulse that we needed. Inks of Revelation, we'll take the lesson, the foresight, sight, bittersweet certainty, name day riddle, revelation, and impulse. We add the Faust. When I thought I'd understood, I'd only begun. So again, it's very hard to complain with a higher level Inks of Revelation, particularly because it does advance my lantern, and we do have a few lantern texts. However, Also, it's nice just to have something that would allow me to brew additional inks, because inks also level up my my ability to read certain books. But we are going to be dedicating a lot to trying to level up this particular lesson. So it's mixed news overall. Still, it's hard to complain about having more lessons and higher level things. So, as we said earlier, if it really comes down to it, I can employ this to some other skill that requires either lantern or moth. And we haven't really talked about it in this playthrough, but there are actually ways that you can sort of recycle lessons as well. But we'll wait for that a little bit later. The skill is now level 7. Its power aspects have also increased. And just in time. Daybreak, memories fade, assistance departs, but the soul is refreshed. So the book we're missing out on is the Book of Dissolution. Not obvious that we would be able to read that right away, although we're close. We can get up to 8 with metal. 10, 11. Yeah, we're actually only 1 away on being able to read that, and I believe Mandaic would push us over the edge. Yep, so that would have been a nice one, but we also never had 5 in terms of a tally price, so it's one of these things where, sure, I could probably like rend my garments and talk about how unfair it is. Oh, I did forget to carry a memory overnight. That's my bad. I wasn't focused. I think I will bring in Mrs. Kale again. I probably won't unlock another room in the house, but it doesn't hurt to have the extra memories. And we are going to go and read we're going to read our new text right away, just because Unhatched Hymns is a pretty straightforward one for me to read, especially with my upgraded in fact, if I had the mirror scope, I can add the core. I'll add the health instead, actually. I can master this mystery, enough lantern to match mystery lantern. I'm probably going to do some gardening today, but I want to see what happens. I'll make some money at the Sweet Bones first, and then I want to see what happens when we finish reading the text. There's not much work on offer in Brandkrug, but I can find 6 worth of odd jobs. So one of the other things that I can do as well, so ideally I would be clearing out some of these curses, but one other option that I have is I can try and read the books that wouldn't be affected. Like, so let's use the History of Inks as an example. So with the Winkwell, it says that it would affect my Fet and Whist. So this one's a bit of a challenge here, simply because my Fet has the rose aspect, so I'd be giving up the 2 to be able to read that. But if I had enough rows, if I was able to get 14 rows, so let's say I had Porphyryne, for instance, if I were to basically accumulate enough rows for the sake of argument, then I would be able to read the text. I could read the text with, let's say, Faust or Health, and I would gain the knowledge of it, although there would still be the curse. I can't recall if all of these... Yes, this one takes up Shapt. This one affects Shapt and Whist, so I could use Arab or Metal on these ones and read the Ascendant. Of course, we don't know Hyksos, so that's its own problems. That's its own problem. Same deal with Deeds of the Scarred Captain, so that's 12 Edge. Whether or not we would be able to read a 12 Edge book, we would be able to do that with Metal or Arab. Most Sorrowful End of the Lady Nona. So this one has Keeper Skin, which affects my Arab and Core. But given the fact that it is a Nectar text, it's one that we could... Actually, sorry, we've already read this one, so this is an example of us already doing that. Barachild's Elegies. Now, Chionic Theoplasma... No, sorry, my apologies. Chionic Theoplasma takes Tristan Health, not Whist. And I'm actually fairly certain with... with our winter now, we would be able to read that. And then the Black Book of Brittany, same story here. Now, Trist does have the moon aspect that we need, so this gets a little more complicated. But I think you get the idea here, right? There's definitely some books that we can read which will not run the risk of causing afflictions on our elements of the soul, but we could definitely pull some knowledge out of. Now, I have treated those as kind of a, in case of emergency, break glass kind of a reading, just because there's other stuff that we can do. For instance, with what we've been doing to level up Inks of Revelation, we might be able to hit Opus Magnum Carillium next. Don't think we've seen any change in terms of Rose and Moon. And what I might do, we may push on the Second Glory. I'm still not sure how I feel about that. But anyways, we are probably going to wind up waiting around a little bit just to see what happens with the text. But them's the breaks. Alright, Mrs. Kill has seen more of the world than she usually lets on. Conversations with her yield the occasional surprise. Add something to enhance Mrs. Kill's effectiveness for the day, or just talk. Unlike some assistants, Mrs. Kill can make use of fabric. Now, it did occur to me there is one thing that I can do which isn't critical right now. But if I were to take my Advanced Arab, so we add Desires and Dissolutions, we've got Rain, so that gives us 2 Grail. And from that, we can add the Ruby-Wise Ruin. Alright, so we've got 15 Grail with the Ruby-Wise Ruin, which we know is the precursor to the Sacrament Callicite, but we weren't able to get it. So we know Desires and Dissolutions doesn't give it to us. However, it's possible Resurgences and Emergences does. Okay, no luck there. Great Signs and Great Scars needs a little help, so we will now take the Fragrant Chalice. Okay. Pentamins and Precursors actually has something of a chance. Oh, nope, I was 1 short. Just because of the oldness of it. But yeah, it looks like we're coming up short in terms of being able to make the Sacrament Callicite, which is fine. I just wanted to see if I could sneak in a little extra for when we need it. We might make something of the Rain today. I'm not 100. Actually, you know what? I should probably be working on that Name Day riddle. No, why would I? The Name Day riddle would be to level up Inks of Revelation, which we don't know if we need yet. So we'll keep chatting with Mrs. Kill. We will kind of do the rounds at the Sweet Bones. And by then we will have the result from the book. There it is and be no tizzer. Mrs. Kill, as every local gossip knows, came from France to marry Mr. Kill, but there's scant trace of the continent in her accent now. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. Okay, so we'll get the core back. This is definitely something that we would want to use to, at very least, harvest the Fragrant Chalice. Might be an idea for me to try and draw up the water again, but we did use the health already, so I'll probably leave that aside. Solace. So that one we can take to bed. And here we've got Unhatched Hymns. Hymns attributed to St. Lucia the... Oh, sorry, just went outside the window. Hymns attributed to St. Lucia the Eyeless, patron of glassworkers and name of the hour called Menascape. The hymns venerate every sanctioned hour, celebrating them as the sun undivided, but also suggesting that each hour may become the next. Madrigad to watchman, watchman to wolf, and so on. Alright, intuition. The hymn of the phases celebrates the Menascate from whom we do not turn, for the truth which is beauty, the beauty which is truth, and the perfect balance between the two. The hymn of the reflections more puzzlingly celebrates the Menascate as the sister of Janus, mother of shadow, whose visage wondrous in emptiness can reveal all truths. Alright, Sacra Solis Invicti. So this is the... Ooh, and a Savage Hymn. I believe that is the first of those that we've gotten. I don't really have a shelf for it. I'll settle for this because it's available, but it definitely feels weird. Now, I don't recall if we had this or not. No, it looks like this is a new one for us. So, that's actually not terrible news, seeing as better now. It'll be easy to level it up, but acquire Sacra Solis Invicti. Use this lesson to acquire a new skill. Lantern-wise, it doesn't really give us a whole lot, but that's not the main reason we go for it. I'm trying to think if there's something I can... If there's some edge that I can get out of the fact that it's scale. Definitely we can't take it with us to sleep, so I either want to upgrade it or I want to use it. I don't really think I have a whole lot of scale texts that I can do something with. To be determined. We'll probably use that to level up the skill. So we've already used the health, so in this case we have to use the FOSS to level up Sacra Solis Invicti. I have no problem at all doing that. But it does raise a question in terms of what I want to do with the rest of the day. I can take a crack at a second glory, knowing full well that I'm really not going to be able to deliver on it. There is one other thing that I want to do, and that is to take a look. So Inks of Revelation is quite high now. I don't think we have any Moth to work with, seeing as we already had a high level from Edict's Liminal. Nin's Cages should be available to me now. Yeah, Ericapaean. So, let's take a minute to think about this. Opus Magnum Corellium. We have 8 Lantern to work with, so that's 6 that's missing. So then that's 4 that's missing with the Faust. Oh, that is a real shame. So essentially it actually winds up in the same place as a second glory. So essentially what we look at here, we take this one, we add the Faust. Don't really want to put the lesson Inks of Revelation in it just quite yet. But we can, so we add the mirror scope. So we've got 11. If we had something that gave us 3 Lantern, we'd be good. But we don't. Excuse me. So, if we had a sunny day, this would be a perfect time to try something like this. But of course, if we have a sunny day, I'm going to use that to level up. I'm going to use that to level up Inks of Revelation instead, and then of course, then Inks of Revelation will have enough to be able to read the book. So. I'm not ruling it out as a possibility by any stretch of the imagination, but we do need a couple of things to break my way first, so we'll just leave that aside. But I should figure out what I'm doing with the rest of the day, because honestly, this should be a pretty relaxed one for us. So let's go fishing. Can't use, oh, I can use sea stories. What is the sea seeded today? We'll use the fat with the more. Last leaves toss and scutter. We will get more Fragrant Chalice, seeing as that is a pretty decent path to a high-level Grail. High-level Grail drink if we feel the need. And I suppose what this really comes down to now is that given that I have all of this free time, I don't think it's a bad idea for me to be exploring the dispensary, but I may also want to think about what sorts of things I can craft. So for instance, Inks of Revelation, given that we now have access to the jail kitchen range, there may be some things that we can make that I didn't try before. So the Ichor Vitreous is actually a good example of this. Sorry, that's Auroral. There's the Vitreous. Now I am surprised that it won't take a... No, I'm not. Right. Okay, so maybe the jail isn't quite the benefit that I thought it was. But let's take a look and see with the Ichor Auroral if we can make something happen here. So I'm one short. I suppose Inks of Revelation would suffice here. Okay, so that doesn't do the trick. What about the other lantern stuff I'm sitting on? So I can't see the Iotic Essence making the difference here. But... Ichor Auroral? Now that surprises me a bit more. There we go. Result. So if we bring in the Xanthotic Essence, in fact, we don't even need the memory for that. So yeah, as long as we can make a Xanthotic Essence, we are able to make our first Incastum Terminale, which is kind of good on its own. Now, I gotta remember how to make this thing. I think Transformations and Liberations was our main method. But what might also be interesting, I did already use the Tryst, so my moth options are limited. But we should at least have Skin Shuck Mead. Quite a bit, actually. There's our Asmiel. So if we can make Asmiel, I believe we already have that on one of the... Oh, no, actually, you know what? It might be on this desk now that I think of it. Yeah, I think I got ahead of myself there. But if it requires 10 and a liquid, that's actually not that hard to deal with because we would already have 2 from the Tryst. Okay. Yeah, there's some interesting stuff that we can potentially do here. I do want to take a quick minute on Transformations and Liberations. I guess I'll add the metal just for the sake of it. So we've got Iotic Essence here. So that didn't make us Xanthotic Essence. Oh, where the hell did I get Xanthotic Essence then? Glacierian Lightsmithing? I find that hard to believe. Maybe Pyroglyphics then. No? The really embarrassing thing here is I didn't... It's not like I... Oh, you know what? Maybe I'm letting my playthroughs get muddled again. I feel like this is something I did... Oh, hang on. Was it Purifications and Exaltation? Nope. Yeah, I feel like this is something that we did reasonably... Like, I don't think we did that all that long ago. But I am having a devil of a time trying to remember how I did this. I suppose it's not that urgent anyway. But it is nice to know, like, if we can find a reliable way of making xanthotic essence. This is one of these cases where I would have a fairly constant stream of a high-powered ink. And just to give you an idea, like, the one thing you know about Uzalt is that it, it's going to be a high-powered lantern ink, but I happen to know it also provides some extra moth. So in addition to it being a useful ingredient for certain moth recipes, any of those texts where I was sort of like on the fence about whether or not it would work, well, the lantern ones that definitely works for some of the others, it basically just gives us a 7-point jump in terms of anything that we can do. But anyways, that's all of that's a consideration for another time. I'm fairly certain I would be able to crack a few of these things. I have been a bit conservative in terms of some of my plays. So for instance, we definitely have a chance at being able to read a Second Glory and Opus Magnum Carillium. We are getting a little bit closer to a point where I'm actually willing to pull the trigger on some of these, just simply because I'm getting basically I'm running into a situation where I don't have quite as many options as before. And this is just simply because I've been reading all of the various texts. But again, we're not... I'm not like I'm not completely out of ideas in terms of things that we can do. But yeah, if the weather doesn't work out, we might be trying one of these two. And honestly, if I'm not able to make a replacement for the xanthotic essence, this resource exists to be used. So in the name of making a cool ink, maybe I'll try that anyway. But we will work out the details of our path in a future playthrough. As always, thank you very much for watching. By my reckoning, we have one more video to go in the week, so I look forward to seeing you then. But until that time, take care.